One, two, three, shoot! Oh!
Scissors cuts paper.
All right, I'm doing the intro. So, hey, Vegan Freaks, how are you? This is Vegan Freak Radio number 79. On today's show, we have a Dino segment where we talk about garlic and a bunch of other things, being your own activist. And for the rest of the show, we discuss how you need to get out from under your rock and go do your own activism. All this and more on the 27th of September, 2007, Vegan Freak Radio number 79.
Coming to you from high atop their elite fortress of moral superiority, here are your protein-deficient hosts, Bob and Jenna.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
It's Jenna.
And Bob. And it's another episode of Vegan Freak Radio. We're back again.
We are.
Sorry about the delay again. We thought we'd be back last week, but we just got too busy with work again.
I know. It seems to be a common theme for us lately.
I know. It sucks, man.
Yes.
But, you know, it's like, here's the thing. We decided last week we could have done a show for you, but we were tired. We were worn out. When we would have gone on and be like, this is Vegan Freak Radio.
Yeah, go vegan.
But, yeah. So we're better off doing it when we're awake and feeling better and all that.
Yeah, so here we are this week, and like Bob said in the intro, we do have a Dino segment coming for you at the end of the show.
That's right. But in the first half of the show, we have a couple things to talk about. Might as well start right off the bat with the latest news in our lives.
We were in Newsweek, not in the actual magazine, but on Newsweek.com.
A web feature with a picture of us
I
at
know.
that.
It's
weird.
like the first thing that pops up.
I know. I wish I'd gotten more sleep the night before, though. It was like that week I was really busy, and I wasn't sleeping like my normal 8 hours of restful beauty sleep that I need to be sexy. You should see what I'm doing right now. I wish you could see me. I'm like grabbing myself in provocative ways. Aren't I?
Yes, you are.
I am. And I didn't have my normal beauty sleep.
Yeah.
But the picture turned out all right.
It did.
Yeah. So the article is interesting. We talked to a reporter from Newsweek, and I have to tell you, I'm always hesitant to talk to anyone in the mainstream media about veganism because, you know, look, there are so many things in the media about vegans. We're seen as like, these out there crazy people, or we're seen as the people that want to, kill kids with our crazy dietary habits. What else is there? We're terrorists.
Yeah. Just weirdo hippie types.
Yeah, completely clueless.
Yeah.
So I'm always hesitant, but when I talked to someone from Newsweek about, and was it July? August?
Couple weeks ago, I think.
No,
it was
it was in August. I talked to somebody from Newsweek the first time, and then we were contacted by another reporter who picked up the story, and she wanted to look at vegan and vegetarian dating kind of, and the difficulties that some vegans have finding vegan partners and why they'd want to find vegan partners and all that.
Mm-hmm. And the reason, of course, it's so difficult is because, it's kind of like this little niche, and there are only 1% of the population of the United States is vegan.
More people believe they've been abducted by aliens than are vegan.
So, if you limit yourself to only other vegans, your dating pool is kind of small.
It can be. So, but I think she wanted to, the person who authored the article wanted to understand that. She's a vegetarian, so she was pretty sympathetic. And, the piece was fluffy, but I thought it did a nice job at not making vegans look like total out there weirdos.
Yeah, and I think the other people that she interviewed for the article were good in describing how it was difficult and why you would want to have a vegan partner.
Sure.
And like we told her when we were talking to her on the phone, it's just at one level it's a practical thing. I mean, it's a lot easier. You don't have to make these decisions. All right, am I going to let meat in the house if my husband doesn't eat meat and I do, or something like that? And at an ideological level, you want someone who shares your values
and who can understand those values.
Exactly.
Right? So it's someone you can share that with in a way.
Yep.
And I mean, there's also an aesthetic aspect to it as well, in that as we very judiciously described to the reporter, that certain bodily secretions probably don't taste as good if you are an omnivore. I don't know if that's true.
We don't know.
I've never had the option to find that out, but I do know from my own experience, I need less deodorant as a vegan.
Me too. My feet don't smell as bad anymore either.
Your feet don't stink anymore.
No,
they did.
I used to.
Oh God, man. Those dogs were stinky in the summer. I think part of it was the shoes you had, though.
True.
Because it was only those shoes that did it to you.
It could be.
Only those tevas were the things. They were hard. And is there any less sexy thing in the planet than a teva? I mean, you see someone's foot in a teva and it's like, it's like, ew.
They were comfy.
Ew. They're the least sexy thing ever.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
but
anyway,
I don't wear those anymore.
Good. I know. I'm very grateful for that. So getting back on track here, the article was, like I said, it was kind of fluffy and all that. But what I thought was really funny is it describes our romance as fairy tale.
I know.
If there's anything in my life that could be fairy tale, it would be my relationship with you.
Oh, that's
I'm
so
serious.
sweet.
It's the only thing it's the only thing in my life that is like that works perfectly, pretty much.
Aw.
Everything else I have difficulty and troubles with, but that I would agree. I think that if
Aw.
I wrote that on my blog too.
Oh, that's so very nice.
Yeah, I'll put that on my blog.
You're sweet.
And you can make me dinner after this. I'm kidding.
No, we always cook together.
We do actually. We cook together and listen to podcasts, or lately we've been listening to Coast AM. And we've been cooking.
It's funny.
Yeah, if you don't listen to Coast AM, you should, because it's funny as hell.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's always Bigfoot or the aliens, and if it's not Bigfoot or the aliens, it's the black helicopters and the one world conspiracy government. And
the shadow people.
It could be the shadow people too.
Right.
Sometimes it's werewolves. And if it's not werewolves, it might be vampires. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Anyway, so the article in Newsweek, we'll put a link to it in the show notes. Another reason I'm hesitant to do these things in the kind of the mass media is that we don't usually get bad feedback when we do these things, but I always worry that some lame person somewhere sitting in their mom's basement, 40 years old and balding and, beaten off to hegemonic porn, is sitting there, and then they read this Newsweek article and they're like, I have nothing better to do, so I will send you a nasty missive. And I always wait to get these. Well, we only got one.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah.
But it was funny, though. The first couple emails in response to this were people
Spam.
trying to sell us stuff.
I know. It's like,
come on.
Will you plug my, please. Yeah. This one I like. Now, you have to think about this for a second. It's an article in Newsweek.com or MSNBC.com or whatever it is, right? You have to click on the link to our site, and when you go to our site, you have to click another link to contact us. Then you have to fill out a form to contact us. Then it sends us an email, but we have a challenge response system, so the email sits in a queue, and it sends an email back to the person who sent an email to us and said, click this link to prove that you're a real person, and they have to click that link, and only then does that email get to us. We're talking about 4 or 5 clicks. So someone has to be pretty dedicated to do this, right? Okay. Some person read this article, and Boondog, Boonedog, Boondog44 at earthlink.net, by the way, in case you want to send them an email. It may be worth it. Maybe you should tell Boondog what you think. You just say, Dear Boondog, we're wondering. Anyway, you could make up your own email. I'm not suggesting, by the way, you harass this person or contact them or anything. I'm just simply saying, the email address is here, boondog44 at earthlink.net. That's Boondog, Boone, dog, 44. Okay, anyway. He wrote, his message is this: eat meat, you sniveling idiots.
Yep. Oh, you know what, Bob? Just because we just got this random email from some asshole on the internet, I think I changed my mind. I don't think I want to be vegan anymore.
Who here can tell Bob what critical thinking means?
That's what I'm wondering. Who here can tell Bob what critical thinking means? It does not mean this.
No.
This is ridiculous. Does this guy... Okay, I'm trying... From a psychological perspective, I want to understand this person. Does this guy think, he's sitting somewhere, like I said, in his mom's basement, probably with his, who cares shirt on, with the burrito stains on it, or whatever. And does he think that he's going to send us an email and we're going to be like, oh my God, Boondog.
You're
yeah,
right.
Dude.
Oh my God.
Fuck. What have I been doing all along? Why am I doing this? Oh my God. What the hell?
Yeah, you're right. We are sniveling idiots. Oh my God.
I'm a sniveling idiot. I don't even know what that's about. So, yeah. Anyway, so that was that one. And I didn't even bother to write back. But if you want to write to him, that's Boondog44. Please do. We got another one. And this one, I don't know. You never know if these things are real or fake. This is the kind of question, though, we would get when we would go to speak at vegetarian festivals, which is the reason we don't do those anymore. One of the reasons. This one, I won't give you this person's email and name. This one is just, I just have a real quick question. If a vegan gives birth to a child, is it against the vegan way to nurse said child? Now, I don't know if that's true. Is that a real question or not?
Well, yeah, because I think the problem is people don't understand why
People go,
you go vegan, like why you would give up milk. They don't understand the fact that it's because the cow is exploited and killed, and that the calves are all killed when you take their milk. They just don't get that fact. I don't
Who
think.
here can tell Bob what critical thinking means?
I'm really wondering this.
So I think they associate. Okay, well then if you don't drink that milk, well then why would you have your baby drink human milk? It's like you're against. They think we're against the whole process of drinking milk or whatever. No, it's okay to drink cow milk if you're a calf.
Yeah.
It's okay to drink human milk if you're a human.
Well, it's the same question you get when it's the same question like, semen is an animal product, therefore one should not come into contact with semen.
Right.
One should not swallow, right? It's always that question, spit or swallow thing. You get it all. Believe it or not, it comes up way more than you would think,
Yeah. It
right?
does.
Anyway, it's a similar kind of question. It's like, if it is freely given, if there's consent involved, there's no problem. There's no
Right.
torture.
Right. And human milk is designed for human babies.
This is
it's
it.
perfectly natural and normal.
And human semen is designed for human babies.
Don't
That's
think
disgusting.
so. It makes babies.
Human semen makes human babies. God.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, please disregard me. I'm broken today in the head. And I probably should have been more careful because I realized this Newsweek article probably is going to get people from work listening to our show.
Yay.
And here I am talking about semen and babies in the same sense. I was on a roll today with babies. I don't know. In my class, I was talking about child slave labor, and I was saying, I think it's a good thing. I was kidding. No, I was just joking. Someone said to me, I was saying, the author we were reading, Kevin Bales, has this book called Disposable People. It's a very good book, actually. It's very well written because it talks about human slavery and how it still exists. And in the book, he says that, child slave labor is really atrocious. So someone said, why does he think that? And I said, because he believes that children are our future. It's exactly how I answered the question in class. I was in one of those goofy moods today. What could I do? I can't sing either. What's the other problem?
Well, that's a strange question to ask, though, the student.
Well, no,
Okay.
it isn't if you read the book because
okay.
he talks about child labor and how he thinks certain kinds of child labor are not inherently wrong.
Okay.
Kind of.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't read the book. So
No.
Okay.
Anyway,
It just sounded like a weird question. Like, of course, forced child labor is kind of like not right.
no, it's not. Of
All
course,
right.
no. But anyhow, and we only read a part of the book that focused on adult labor, so we didn't read the whole book. We only read sections of it.
Okay, sorry.
So it was an interesting and natural question for me.
Okay.
If you had been there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Anyway, no, it's my fault for not telling the story better. So Newsweek, we were there. It was good.
Right. I think we have a song to play.
All right. You gonna introduce this thing?
Well,
or
we played this song on one of our very first shows.
very long time ago.
Very long time ago, but it's an oldie but a goodie.
It is an oldie but
So we
goodie.
want to play it again because it's relevant to what we're talking about today.
And for the record, I'm not a straight edger. I'm not.
No,
Neither are you.
no, I'm not.
Thanks a lot, friends.
Okay, that was Minor Threat, in case you don't know. If you don't know, you should, come on. In my eyes. Mm-hmm. So why we play this song, Jenna?
Because of the lines. You tell me I make no difference? At least I'm fucking trying. What the fuck have you done?
Good question.
That's a common response to people when they tell you, when you tell them you're vegan.
Sure.
And they're like, well, why? You're not going to make any difference.
Doesn't make any difference.
Doesn't make any difference whatsoever. And you can't be perfect, so why bother?
Exactly.
So, our response? At least we're fucking trying.
And what the fuck have you done?
Exactly. So it makes a difference because you're trying, because you're doing that. It's a statement more than anything. It's a statement against the oppression of animals.
Absolutely. And the thing is like, look, you probably will not end animal exploitation tomorrow, but if you believe it's wrong, you owe yourself and you owe the world at least as much as living your life in a way that's consistent with your ethics.
Exactly.
And that's it. You got to take that step forward. If you think it's wrong, that's what you have to do. You have to be consistent and move in that direction. Look, I don't think racism is going to be gone anytime soon. I don't think sexism is going to be gone anytime soon. I don't think domination or oppression or hierarchy are going to be gone anytime soon. But I purposefully want to live my life in ways that are not racist, that are not sexist, that are not oppressive, and that are not speciesist.
Exactly.
And you got to do it. You got to begin somewhere. You got to live your life in a way that will reflect the world that you want to see.
Right. So being vegan is step one.
Step one.
Step two.
I think step two, and this is something I talk about in my forthcoming book, Making a Killing, The Political Economy of Animal Rights. Shameless plug. Actually, speaking of which, makingakillingbook.com. I just set that up.
Yes.
My
it's a very
website.
nice website.
Yes, ma'am.
It's coming out
November.
in like a month.
Yeah, like a month and a half. Month and a half. Our book is coming out.
It's almost October, so yeah.
My new book. So my new book will be out in about a month and a half in the US and the UK and probably Canada. I'm sure Canada as well. And I don't know about Australia and New Zealand. Sorry, I know we have a lot of listeners there. Anyway, the point is, in that book, I talk about kind of my own experience, and I talk about why I think it's important to live your life in a way that's consistent with your ethics, and how you have to look. I have this quote at the beginning of one of the chapters in the book, and it's a quote that's from Ursula Le Guin. And now, if you don't know Ursula Le Guin, you should go read some Ursula Le Guin. For example, there's this book called The Dispossessed. It's like the best book ever, okay? It's a book about anarchism. Now, of course, I can't find it. Anyway, Ursula Le Guin, great sci-fi author. But this quote basically says that... I'm going to get there. Go ahead. Feel some air, Donna. Hurry up.
Anyway. Yeah, I haven't read the book yet. Actually, I need to read the book.
You haven't read the book yet?
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
I have not.
You read it in pieces.
Well, I've read the synopsis that you provided in Making a Killing.
Oh, you mean that book? I thought you meant
The
my book.
Dispossessed. Oh, I've
Yeah.
read your book.
Okay, so this quote from Le Guin is, there's a character in The Dispossessed, and he says, you cannot buy the revolution, you cannot make the revolution, you can only be the revolution. It is in your spirit or it is nowhere. I can't agree with that more. That is so true. You can't buy it. You can't win this war by donating money to PETA and the HSUS and all these other shitty organizations out there. You can't make it. I mean, you have to be it. You have to do it. That's the only way. And it has to remain alive in your spirit, in your life, or it dies.
Exactly. And you can be your own activist. And people are like, well, I don't know what to do.
Well, you know what? All of you are unique and special snowflakes. You are. I really believe this. I actually believe this. You are all special people. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. I mean that you all have some talent or some ability. Do you not?
You do.
That's right.
Yeah, so you need to harness that ability, whatever it is. If you're good at talking to people, then talk to people about being vegan.
That's right.
If you're good at writing, write something on the internet.
Write a book.
Write a book. We did.
Yeah.
We, didn't take any special anything. Just some time and effort.
I mean,
and some research.
We sat down and wrote that book, and we thought, you know what? I remember when we wrote that book. We thought, if we can sell 1,000 copies of this thing, it'll be a real success. That's what we thought. Remember? I thought there's no way in hell we're going to sell more than 1,000 copies of this book. Now we're like 7,000 or 8,000 copies in, and it's still selling well. So it's like, come on, it's doing well.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's good shit.
If you're a good cook, cook for people.
Cook for
Because
people.
that's one of the major blockages to people understanding veganism is what the hell do you eat?
Yep.
Show them.
I agree. And I think a lot of people have the sense that to be an activist, a quote unquote activist, that you have to go out and like storm the barricades and go out with ketchup and throw ketchup on people's fur coats.
Right.
And,
Or even like go out and picket and protest. You
and
don't
leaf whip.
have to.
No. You don't have to do any of that. Because some people are good at that and some people aren't. For
Yeah,
some people, that's not the most effective use of your time or the most effective way to do it.
Exactly. Like for me, I just don't like protests and shit like that. I just don't like it. I don't feel comfortable. I don't know. I'd rather do something else.
Yeah.
But other people are really good at it and
That's
can
right.
really make a difference at it. So that's what they do.
But that's the thing, is that we all have to find the things that we're good at and work together to do them. I think it's also important to find people near where you are, where you live, and to work with them about local issues, because you know your local context better than anybody does.
Exactly.
And work in that local context to make change.
For example, we've got two great examples of people who did that. They looked in their area, there was nothing, or what there wasn't satisfactory to them, and so they created their own groups. There's one in Fresno, I believe it is, that Middle Class Joe and Jackson, all those people out there in the Central Valley in California out there are doing. They put together a group. Now they meet, with people. They go out to eat. They do stuff. They have a website, and even more recently, Boston Vegan Association.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's a Boston Veg Association, which is also very good, but it's not, it's not completely vegan. It's a vegetarian association. So
Sure.
animal friendly. Yes.
Yeah. Animal Friendly and Snowboard Bunny.
Snowboard Bunny.
On our
and,
forums.
A couple other,
And a couple
other
other
Boston
folks
vegans.
who I'm probably... I don't mean to offend you by not including you. I just don't remember it off
Me
the top of my head.
So they did a lot of work and put this group together, and now they're got stuff on the web. They have meetings. They're doing stuff.
Absolutely. And it's important. I mean, those kinds of things, they play an important role in promoting veganism and helping people to stay vegan. You create a support network. I mean, it's not hard to be vegan in this world, but for some people, it's difficult to make that stand and to find people with whom they agree and to be kind of out front about their politics and their ethics.
It is,
And-
especially if you're by yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
you just want to. It is hard to stand up to the world by yourself, and sometimes you just want to share that experience with others and know that there are other people out there.
Absolutely. And I don't think that's too sappy or anything. I mean, that's exactly what we need. We need to create these support networks for each other to do this shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's vital. And other people too. We had Lely and Weege on the show. God, way back
It was
when.
last year this time because it wasn't around National World Vegan Day or something, which is like November 1st.
Well, there you go. So it was
Yeah.
about a year ago this time, I guess. And they did the Vegan Freak for a Week thing.
Yeah, they got a bunch of their friends. They even got Oi Polloi to play.
I know.
They cooked, Lely cooked for God knows how many people for like a week.
Yeah. And it was a really straightforward
Yeah.
idea. They just got people to go vegan for a week to try it. They got companies to donate stuff, and they got, like Jenna said, Oi Polloi to come play. I mean,
Right.
they did that with almost no money.
Yeah.
And just kind of raw desire to do something.
Exactly. They made their own pamphlets, their own little
Yeah.
guide. And, if leafleting is something that you do like to do, and you don't like any of the pamphlets that the big groups put out there because you don't want to say exactly what they're promoting,
Write your
make
own.
your own.
Yeah, man.
So,
Write your own. Plagiarize from the big ones if you like bits and pieces of them. Come on. Maybe I shouldn't be encouraging this.
no, you shouldn't.
Why not? Why? Are they copyrighted?
Maybe.
Well, I think you should use them under the banner of fair use. If you take an excerpt of something and use it and you aren't making any profit off of it, come on. Why not?
Because you should cite what you use.
Okay, fine. There you go. What?
Nothing.
I'm not encouraging anyone to turn it in for their homework or
No, but-
is for an academic paper. I'm just saying, if there's something good about one thing that you like, put other things together and use them.
Yeah, do your research.
Yeah, man. Do it.
Anyway. But so yeah.
But so yeah.
Go out and do it.
Yeah.
And actually, on our Dino segment today, he talks about something that he's putting together with a lot of other cool vegans.
Absolutely, he does, and I think there's a lot of possibilities for doing this kind of work. And I just want to reiterate one thing before we move on to the Dino segment. I think it's important. Organizations need money. There's no question about it. To do this kind of stuff requires some money for certain people, and I don't think it's an intrinsically bad thing to give money to certain organizations that you agree with. I think, for example, giving money to Peaceful Prairie as a sanctuary, great idea. They need the money. They need the support. I think giving money, though, should be one small part of the whole thing. And I don't think the big organizations like HSUS and PETA deserve your money. I'm going to be completely honest with you. They're professional activists, and, you know, your money is just going towards maintaining that organization and campaigns. And I think their campaigns are mostly bullshit. I'm just going to level with you. That's what I think. And I've got a lot of reasons for thinking that. They're in my book. No. Speaking of selling stuff, Christ. I mean, I can go through it. If you've listened to the show for any extended period of time, you know why. But I think that we can be more. And here's the thing. You can't buy a social movement. I don't think we can build a real meaningful social movement in this country by donating money to PETA, HSUS, Greenpeace, whomever. I think the only way we're going to build a social movement is by people every single day, or, you know, in their daily lives, I guess is what I mean, getting out and doing the things that are important to them. That's how you build a social movement. That's how you build an organization. That's how you build collectives of people working to change the world, you know? And PETA, okay, fine. They do their things. Meet Your Meat is good for some people. And, you know, yeah, they've created however many vegetarians or whatever. Great, wonderful. But what about you? You can do stuff in your everyday life. We're busy people, and we still find time to do shit. So there you go.
Because it's important.
It is important. And I think it's, you know, we need to keep that in mind. I think another thing we need to keep in mind, too, is the ability to kind of reach out and create bridges with other kinds of activists that are fighting against oppression and suffering. I think we've been like too narrowly focused in our movement for too long. And that if we're going to ever be successful, we need to start making bridges and inroads into other movements as well. Creating those dialogues and those bridges, because, you know, the left, a lot of people on the left think we're goofy as hell. And I think a lot of us are goofy as hell. And I think a lot of that comes from PETA, actually. But another story altogether for that, at a different time, different date. But I think we need to start really reaching out, because we're only going to be able to do this if we build a broader based movement.
Yep.
That's what I think.
All right.
So, as Jenna was saying, we do have a Dino segment coming up for you. In this Dino segment, what do we talk about, J-Dog?
Well, Dino talks about his fat that he put online.
FAQ.
FAQ.
I thought you said his fat that he put online.
No.
I had this vision of Dino holding his non-existent belly.
Yeah, Dino does not have a belly.
Like I said, non-existent.
So yeah, the project that he's working on with a lot of other people, and we talk about garlic, and then we talk about
all kinds of good stuff about garlic. More stuff about garlic than you would think.
Yeah.
Some recipes and ideas for garlic as well.
And
so
we talk about something else which I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
It's all right. It's all good. I tried to save you there, but you kept going.
Yeah, sorry.
No, don't apologize.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, here we go.
Dino, we who cook with Dino are the luckiest people in the world.
Okay, we're here with Dino once again. Dino, we've had Dino on plenty of times on our Dino segment. And he's the author of the cookbook Alternative Vegan, which is doing very well on Amazon, by the way.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Congratulations.
Did you see that thing that I posted on the forums
Yes.
where it was like number 2 right behind you guys?
That's cool, man.
I about peed myself when I saw that.
That's awesome. So I'm just very glad that a lot of people are out there finding it and cooking up your awesome recipes.
Right, but it's even cooler that, you know, you were okay, the thing is, at that point, I was number 15 in the vegetarian vegan cookbook section, but I was number 2 for animal rights, and you guys were number 1.
Yay!
I know! That was so cool.
Very cool. But you also have a new project that you're working on that you want to tell us about.
Yeah, the website is veganfaq.blogspot.com. Now, what happened is that these seem to be sort of the start of a lot of my new projects, is when I first turned vegan, I want to say like 3 or 4 resources that people kept pointing me to. And it's sort of like, okay, this is what the corporate activist sites are telling me to do, but maybe I don't necessarily agree with all of them. In fact, a lot of them I strongly disagree with, such as, you know, leave it to PETA. I mean, they're going to fucking say stupid shit like they're accidentally vegan list. They have this little disclaimer on the bottom saying, oh, some of this stuff may be 99.9% vegan. What the fuck does that mean? If I peed just a little bit in your drink, would that be okay? I mean, what if I peed in the glass and then, spilled it out and then filled your drink up there without washing it? Would that be okay? I mean, I'm like, they say it's 99.9% vegan, and it sends a message to the companies that, they don't want this kind of product. And I'm like, okay, number one, it's problematic drink, because you're saying it's 99.9% vegan, which is not vegan. Number two, you're saying that it's sending a message to the companies. I don't give a shit what the companies think, because quite frankly, I'm not into capitalism to begin with.
Yeah, but can it give us cool stuff like Happy Meat?
A Happy Meat can suck my left one right about now. So after hearing you guys' podcast with Gary Francione and, talking to him on email, and it was so cool because he sent me an email saying that he has my book and, wasn't really cooking stuff from there because it was all this oil and stuff. And I told him how to use a cooking spray because of you guys. So it's sort of like a full circle, if you know what I mean.
Cool stuff.
I started with you guys, and then Gary Francione started with you guys, and now he bought my book, and then now he's using cooking spray because of what y'all said on your health show. But anyway, I digress. He said, okay, if you don't like what the major corporations are doing, why don't you start up a project yourself?
Right.
And I think that's a fair enough estimation of the situation. Like, it's that whole anarchist philosophy of if you don't like what the main group is doing, splinter off, form your own group, and figure things out on your own.
I agree
and that's
with that.
what I'm absolutely on there. Well, you're an anarchist, Bob.
Well, of course. Nothing wrong with that.
No, there's nothing wrong with that, and I absolutely am. I'm totally on board with you on that, because once I saw all these major websites, okay, like look at Wikipedia, they get to be edited by anybody. Number two, look at PETA, look at HSUS, look at Friends of Animals, all these other websites. All they seem to be doing is trying to raise money.
Yeah, and so what? So you're a vegan FAQ. I mean, tell us a little bit about it. It's not just you, right?
No, it's not. It's me and currently about like 9 or 10 other authors.
Cool.
And what we're doing is we get these stupid Omni questions all the time. What do you eat? What about eggs? What about fish? Blah, blah, blah. And, we get these questions constantly. Sometimes we answer in a way that is asshole-ish, if you know what I mean.
For fun.
Like, go fuck yourself, or, because fuck you, that's why. And, it feels good at the time, but sometimes you look back and you think, I wish I could have answered that in a better way. And that's why the blog is there. I'm saying, okay, if you wish you could have answered it in a better way, post your answer here now. Number two, it's for people who are just trying to get into this whole veganism thing, and they're trying to see some of the challenges that you get started off with. Like, there's a post on there about how to eat vegan cheaply. I think it was Emmy. That's her name. She posted this long list of, a shopping list, and she said, even if you buy organic, even if you buy, really expensive ingredients, you can eat as a vegan for about $25 a week.
That's great.
That's dirt cheap.
Definitely.
And she compared it to the cost of like meat and stuff at her local supermarket, and she said, you're spending close to $500-600 a month for a family of 4 on, a meat-based diet, but look at the vegan diet, even if it's organic, you're still going to be spending at the most about $100. So like, these are the sort of things that, you want to see as a beginning vegan. Okay, it's not expensive. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be a challenge. You're not a fucking hero for standing true to what you believe in. I heard that comment in your podcast last time, Bob, and it enraged me because I'm like, why would people call you brave for standing up for what you believe in?
I agree. I mean, it's just, I would be not being true to myself if I, went against my own beliefs.
I mean, granted, maybe you'd be called a coward if you didn't stand up for what you believe in, but I wouldn't exactly consider you brave if you're doing what's right. I would consider you a normal human being with a conscience.
Exactly.
Right. So that's number 2. Number 3 is my absolute rule on this thing is that I do not want outside links.
So no external links at all. You're doing everything from right there.
everything must be in-house. So I don't want to hear what somebody else has to say about it. You can maybe cite a book if you absolutely need to, but in all honesty, I would prefer it if this were the voice of the everyday vegan, of those kinds of people who are living life out there on the streets, who aren't sitting in a comfortable office like, fucking Temple Grandin and, what's her face and PETA, dictating what everybody else should be thinking. I'd rather this be people who are living their lives as normal people and who have responses to actual valid questions.
I think that's a cool idea.
And it has exploded. I was so surprised. I opened this thing up on, I think I want to say Monday or Sunday or something of this week, and we are close to 30 posts already.
That's wonderful.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I almost wanted to cry when I saw how much, these people were so passionate about what they believe in, and they were so frustrated, and it was kind of sad because I kind of want to be like, all right, I wish you didn't have to go through this, but in them having gone through it and them sharing their stories, I feel that's a lot more engaging than these giant tomes that are telling you these walls of logic and these walls of text that's saying, okay, this is what you should think and here's why. I'd rather hear a story than,
Are you dissing books?
I'm not dissing books.
Are you getting anti-intellectual on us? Come on.
My thing is, there's a time and a place for everything, you know what I mean? So if you want to go read those books, go read those books. But I also want to provide a voice for those people who'd like to tell their stories as well.
Sure, it's education from the people who are living it.
Right. It's sort of like my cookbook where, I've seen cookbooks where they intellectualize it and they sort of make it so anal retentive that it's like, oh, if I screw up one tiny step or one tiny ingredient, I can't make this dish. Whereas mine is more sort of like, okay, let me tell you the story behind this dish. Let me tell you the story behind how I made this, and let's kind of, figure this out together type of thing. I find that for me, myself, to be more engaging than, something that says you have to do it this way. So if indeed you do want those logical arguments, definitely go seek out those books. But like it's like you guys' book, you made it sort of like an engaging experience because this is what we experienced, here's how we dealt with it, and here's how kind of you might want to deal with it.
Cool, man. Well, I think that's a great idea. So if people want to find that URL again is what?
It's veganfaq.blogspot.com.
There you go.
And of course, we are always accepting new authors. The bent of the entire blog is decidedly abolitionist. So if you're going to start posting this welfare's bullshit, I'm going to kick you out and quick. Second thing is, I do hope that if you join on board, you do post at least 3 times a month. And the only other rule is that I don't want outside links. Other than that, I'm welcome to all comers. So if you want to join in, shoot me a comment on one of the posts with your email address and I'll add you right in.
There you go. So that's cool. Now let's move on to some stuff about food.
Yes, I got a question about garlic, and it totally stymied me because I'm like, who doesn't know about garlic?
Well, that's weird. What kind of question did you get about garlic?
Okay, they wanted to know what's the difference between whole garlic and the vinegar, powdered garlic, and how it affects the final dish.
Oh, I see. And are people using the wrong garlics in the wrong places?
They're using the wrong garlics full stop, because I know people out there who actually buy that jarred garlic that's already minced up in that thing with the vinegar and shit.
That shit's nasty.
That shit is horrific.
Yeah.
But my point is, I'd rather you use that than no garlic at all. And I'd rather you use that than garlic powder. Because I'm not a fan of garlic powder if I can help it. There are some very specific places that you can use it in, but okay, let me explain. The thing with garlic is that it can be so many different things depending on how you prepare it. Supposing you keep it whole and you throw it in towards the beginning of your dish and you let it slowly integrate, right? You're going to get a mild backdrop of garlicky flavor, but you're going to get whole cloves of garlic. Now, what you can do if you're like me is leave it in there and then serve it alongside each bowl. So like I like to throw in a head of whole garlic, where I just take off the skins and I keep the cloves whole, and I cook my dish as I normally would, And what happens is then you get a very, very mild, subtle taste of garlic in the background. But if you want more, you have those whole garlic cloves to eat along with your food, almost as if you were having sort of like an Indian pickle with your food. So sort of you get little punches of garlic if you want it. It's very, very subtle, or it can be very, very strong depending on your preference. And when you keep garlic whole and you cook it slowly, it tends to have this really sweet undertone.
Yeah.
It's very fragrant, and I really wish people would try it. Like, say for example, I have a dal or something like that, right? And supposing I threw in my spices, I popped them, I throw in some onions, some peppers, and at the same time I want to throw in an entire head's worth of peeled garlic. And I let it all simmer together, and the garlic is going to get all crusty and brown on the outside, and it's going to get this sort of like golden mahogany color. And then you add the deglazing ingredients like the tomatoes and the alcohol and all the rest of that. Let that cook down. And then you add the cooked beans and you let that cook down for about another 15, 20 minutes or so. What you're going to end up with is that the garlic is going to have started off with that brown crusty exterior, but that brown crusty exterior is going to slowly permeate the dish. So you're going to have a very nice hint of garlic throughout the entire dish, but if you want more, you get to bite into those whole cloves of garlic that are slightly sweet, slightly roasted. You know, it's a really zen sort of thing. It's an otherworldly experience that I hope people definitely give a shot.
It sounds really good.
I'm drooling right now, so I need to wipe my mouth for a second.
I'm getting kind of hungry with you talking about this.
It's so wonderful. The second application of garlic is when you mince it up really finely. Now, the thing about garlic is that you can have it as strong or as weak as you want, regardless of how much you put in, depending on when in the recipe you add it. Supposing you add it in at the beginning along with the rest of the aromatics, what's going to end up happening is that it's going to get really mellow, and it'll give you that punch of garlic, but you're not going to get that wallop across the back of your head of that garlicky flavor. I don't care for that because I feel that it dilutes it. And I want a kick in the back of the neck of garlic. So what I do is that after I've finished cooking my dal or whatever else it is, I throw the garlic through a garlic press, or I mince it up really fine, and I add it in about 5 minutes before I'm about to take it off the stove. And you will get that punch in the face of garlic that's so strong, and I love it.
And it makes you stink the next day, too.
I don't give... Oh, I addressed that as well.
Okay, so what about that?
You don't have to stink if you eat garlic. The highest concentration of the sulfur compounds in garlic, which is what causes stinky breath as well as an onion, is that center stalk. So if you smash a piece of garlic with a piece of rock or something else like that, you're going to see the outside separate from a central stalk.
Are you like camping or something, man, when you're cooking?
No. I have a really smooth stone that my dad has.
Yeah.
That he used to use back in India, so it's really smooth all around. And I smashed my garlic with that, or I use the bottom of my mortar and pestle if I'm feeling dirty, because I don't like getting my mortar and pestle dirty, nor do I like getting it wet.
Yeah, well, you have a molcajete, which is similar.
Molcajete is even better, because it's that volcanic stone, which is really, really hard and rough. Anyway, so you smash the garlic, right? And what ends up happening is that the outside separates from the central stalk of that clove. That central stalk is where that stink comes from. So if you remove that piece and you throw the rest of the garlic in, your breath will not smell bad, nor will your sweat.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Who knew?
But who cares anyway? I mean, I say throw that shit in and stink, and let everyone know we vegans, we smell like garlic, we stink, and that's the way it is. Tough shit.
I know, but there are certain times when you're with people who don't care for garlic because they think that it smells too strongly, if you know what I mean. That's because that sulfurous compounds that are concentrated in that central stalk, if you take it out, you'll be fine.
I like to actually eat a lot of garlic and then go out and drink beer with friends and sit across the table and belch and boil the garlic at them.
Oh, that's just nasty.
You're disgusting,
I'm
Bob.
kidding. I don't really do that.
I have nothing against drinking beer or eating garlic, and trust me when I say I don't remove the central stalk. I don't give a shit if I stink.
Yeah, I know.
If you don't like the smell, go somewhere else.
I agree.
You don't get to hang out with the diva. I don't really care.
Okay, so if you take out the center stalk, you're in good shape, and
you're in good shape in terms of the smell.
Cool.
In terms of the flavor, you are going to be diluting the flavor, so you want to add it towards the end of the recipe so that it's a little bit stronger.
Gotcha. Do you have any ideas for recipes that are very heavy on garlic for people who really like it?
Yes, of course.
Well, let's hear it.
I made this dish when I was in Chicago, and Steve's family was coming over to eat, and it was a spinach dish. And what I tend to do with spinach usually is that I saute it in some olive oil, I throw in some garlic at the end, a little sprinkle of nutmeg, tiny dash of sea salt, grind of pepper, and just a sprinkling of sesame seeds, and I'm good to go, right? But what I did this time, because I was feeling horrifically lazy, is that I just peeled the garlic and I threw in about 2 heads worth of garlic for about a pound of spinach. You had as much spinach as you had garlic.
Wow.
And what I did initially was that I just left it like that because his aunt does not like garlic. She's Italian and she does not like garlic.
What the hell?
But anyway, I love them all. They're wonderful people. Anyway, so I fed her first. Then what I did is I went back into the kitchen and I took a wooden spoon and I quickly run that spinach and garlic mixture, in that pot. Like I gave it a quick stir. And what happened is that the garlic got all smashed up and smushed up. And I added a little bit of raw tomato and just a touch of lemon juice. And you pile that up on top of, toasted bread. And it is the most wonderful dish ever.
I'm hungry, Dino. That's not fair.
Next best thing is to take a whole clove of garlic, slice it in half vertically, rub it all over a baguette or any other bread that you have.
Rub it all
slice
over
it
me.
into slices. Oh, of course. Slice the bread into slices. Take the rest of that clove of garlic and grind it up as fine as you can with about a couple of tablespoons of olive oil and drizzle it on as liberally as you can get it. Then throw it into the oven for about 5-10 minutes at about 400 degrees to just get it toasted a little bit. And what you get is this punch of garlic in the crust because you rub that entire loaf of bread with the garlic. And you get the garlic olive oil that's, being steeped in there and toasted. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Oh, man, that sounds good. We lived in Spain. We lived in Catalonia. And in Catalonia, they had this kind of like a national dish almost. It was where they would toast up some, thick country peasant bread. And then once it was toasted, you take a clove of garlic, you cut it in half, and you just rub it all over the bread, and then you take like a quarter or half a tomato and smear that on the bread, and then you take a little bit of olive oil and you put on a little bit of salt, and you eat that, and
you're in heaven.
It's one of the most amazing things. It's so simple and it sounds so easy, but if you do it, it is so good.
There's also a recipe in my book for Indian pickle, for the lemon pickle and that kind of thing. That works equally well with garlic. When my mother used to go shopping in the market, sometimes she would get a sale on garlic where she'd get 5 heads for $1 or something like that. So she would buy, 15 pounds of garlic or so at one time because it's dirt cheap. You figure that's pretty cheap. Why not go for it? So fine. We'd buy all this garlic at the same time. Then we'd sit there and peel it, and then we'd make it into Indian pickle. You have not lived until you have had Indian pickle made of garlic.
Oh, garlic pickle is the best.
Because it's hot, and it's salty, and it's garlicky. It works as a bread spread. It works as a food accompaniment. It works as pretty much anything you want it to be, short of a sex toy.
I think that might burn a little.
It could.
Just a twit.
But
I hope I'm making you guys a little bit hungry with this talk.
I'm really hungry. And actually, I do have a question for you about garlic. The other day, I was cooking out of an Indian cookbook we have, and it called for Indian garlic. Is there any difference between the Indian?
There is a difference.
There is.
The Indian garlic is the one. The traditional garlic you have has that white skin and it has the white flesh, right?
Yeah.
The Indian garlic has pink skin and it has a much stronger flavor.
Wow.
So if it says Indian garlic, double the amount of American garlic you'd use.
I always double the amount of garlic it calls for in everything.
In any case.
Anyway, yeah.
Which is probably why it tasted fine, is because the Indian garlic is extremely strong.
Oh, cool. I didn't. That's awesome. Nice to know that.
The thing about the Indian garlic, though, is that the cloves are much smaller. The thing about India is that even though they don't have the money for organic, certification, most of the farms tend to be organic anyway because they can't afford the pesticides and the rest of it.
Right.
So the food tends to come out where, the fruits are smaller, the vegetables are smaller, everything's smaller than it would be in the United States, but everything is so packed with flavor that you kind of eat the stuff here and it's sort of like, I'm not quite getting it.
I'm going to be a cold-hearted vegetable killer in a little while, and I'm going to eat some dinner because you are making me extremely hungry.
But we have our final point of contention to go to.
Okay.
Is black-eyed peas.
Yeah.
That most maligned of beans that people seem to think is poor people food. And granted it is, but there's a reason for it. I did some research, which is very rare for me because I don't give a shit about nutrition. If you want to eat fried food, I say eat fried food. In fact, I encourage people to do it. But I did some research, and it turns out that black-eyed peas are, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, what's called an excellent source of calcium, folate, and vitamin A.
Bang.
What qualifies as an excellent source means that it has 20% or more of that recommended daily value of that particular nutrient.
In a serving?
In a serving, in one
wow.
serving.
I had no
One
idea.
cup of boiled black-eyed peas has 211 milligrams of calcium, 209 micrograms of folate, and 1,305 international units of vitamin A.
That's good for you.
That's horrifically good for you. On top of that, they're packed with protein. They have 5.23 grams of protein. They have lots of fiber. It's 8.2 grams of fiber per cup. And of course, iron and all the rest of it.
Sure. So they're good food, they're nutritious, and they're delicious.
And they're absolutely tasty, because here's the thing. With your traditional bean, say for example a black bean or a red bean or a kidney bean or a pinto bean or something like that, they tend to be sort of unique. Each bean stands out on its own, and it doesn't really tend to meld with the rest of the dish very well. So in being all individualistic and stuff, it's great in certain applications such as a bean salad or something along those lines. But when you want something that kind of melds all together, especially if you're feeding children, I've seen people asking, what do I feed my kids, because they're really finicky. Children's teeth are not as well developed as adults' teeth, so they need foods that are soft and kind of squishy, and like the venpungal, that's why it's so
Yeah.
popular. Now, with black-eyed peas, they tend to integrate into any dish that you can set in front of them, regardless of what it is, because although they stay separate, they're extremely soft when they're cooked.
Huh.
Just like lentils. When you cook down, brown lentils or something, they're going to sort of like meld into anything you put into them. Meanwhile, black-eyed peas are exactly the same, but they're packed with nutrition and they taste so good. It's an essential part of sambar, which is that dish with the vegetables and the beans and that, powder and the spices and all the rest of it.
Sambar's awesome.
Sambar is a wonderful thing. It's also a traditional food that's eaten on New Year's Day to give good luck for the year. As well as it's predominantly found in the American South, amongst, soul food cuisines and that kind of thing. They usually serve it with collard greens and cornbread and that kind of thing. While I have no problem with traditionally cooked black-eyed peas, my major disappointment with it is that it tends to be really bland. So what I say to do is, I have a dal in the cookbook that specifically uses just black-eyed peas because they integrate so well with those flavors. Then when you're done with that dal, like I mentioned a few podcasts ago, you mash it up with some rice, you throw in some extra vegetables in there, you form little patties, spray them with cooking spray, bake them in the oven, and you have these wonderful little patties of they're packed with nutrition and they're so easy to eat.
You better
Especially young
stop,
children.
because Jenna is going to bite me. She looks so hungry.
That's what you get for being attractive, Bob.
I don't think it has anything to do with being attractive. It's just nearby, and I don't know.
Hungry.
Available.
Could be.
Odd vegan, Jenna. Odd vegan.
Yeah, I know.
What if I agree to be
But
eaten?
exactly, I was going to say, if he asks
It's
for it,
consensual. We did cover that in the blog as well about vegan breast milk and vegan semen.
I was going to say other secretions.
As long as it's consensually given, it's vegan. Damn it.
I agree. So the black-eyed peas, they sound great.
Black-eyed peas are wonderful, and what's even better is that how you traditionally use chickpeas for hummus.
yeah,
Black-eyed peas tend to be cheaper, and you can do an equally wonderful dip out of black-eyed peas.
Ooh.
And the thing about it is, because they grind up so well, you only need to use a fraction of the oil.
Nice.
So even if you're using the full-fat hummus where, you drizzle on that oil like you're going crazy, just cut it back to like a teaspoon or so, and that's more than enough, because what ends up happening is that the black-eyed peas puree up into this smooth, fluffy, aerated type of dip versus the hummus that tends to be a little bit denser and more heavy and that kind of thing. So you need that fat to sort of give it the flavor as it goes down and give it lubrication as it goes down, but with the black-eyed peas, they'll go down really easy.
Lube.
Lube, exactly. Please don't use it as a sex toy unless you want to get messy.
Okay, well, anything else you want to talk about here, Dino?
They also freeze really well.
Oh, yeah.
When you do cook them up, I hope that you would cook them up in about a kilo or two at a time.
Can you just get
And-
canned ones?
Bad, Bob, bad.
Well, no, come on.
The thing
Canned
about-
beans are fine if you're in a hurry. What's wrong with that?
The thing about black-eyed peas is they're just like lentils because they only cook up in about an hour and a half. Unlike black beans, red beans, pinto beans, kidney beans that take 3 to 6 hours, they only take an hour and a half, so might as well do them fresh.
Yeah, and they're usually cheaper too that way.
They're dirt cheap that way. I don't want you spending, 50 cents to 75 cents per 8 ounces for black-eyed peas, plus water. That's absolutely ridiculous. Meanwhile, they're also loaded with sodium. Please do not buy canned black-eyed peas because they're so easy to cook.
Okay. I feel
Yes.
like I'm in trouble now.
Yes, you are in trouble, Poppy. You should know better than to have people buying canned food when it's so easy to find, fresh. Oh, right. One more thing.
Sure.
I was talking to a friend of my mom's, and we were going to be cooking in New York when we go up on Friday. We're going to visit her on Saturday, and I mentioned to her the Holy Trinity that I like to have in my cabinet at all times. And she was like, "What's the Holy Trinity?" And I posted in my blog about what I mean in the cookbook in pictures, and I took pictures of every step of this basic recipe, right?
Cool.
To me, the Holy Trinity is number 1, onions, number 2, garlic, number 3, tomatoes. Once you have those three ingredients in your cabinet, you can literally make something from nothing.
It's true.
Steve had been coming home, I want to say last night or something. He was going to be a little bit late. And I thought, I have all the time in the world. I don't have to cook anything because we have tons of stuff in the fridge all the time. I checked the fridge. There's nothing in there because we didn't go shopping since we're going to be leaving on Friday. So, of course, I turned to my Holy Trinity and rice, and I made tomato rice from the cookbook.
Cool.
Easy to make, easy to have. The other Holy Trinity of spices is mustard seeds, cumin seeds, and sesame seeds. So as long as you have those 6 ingredients in your house at all times, regardless of what pinch you're thrown into, you're going to be okay.
Right.
And it's all in the cookbook.
In the first Holy Trinity is interesting because it's the base for a lot of different world cuisines. I mean, you use that
Yes.
in Mexican, in Italian, in Indian. I mean, you can really
In
turn
Indian,
it into a lot of different things.
African, and pretty much anything you see, they use those base ingredients to form the base for either soups or stocks or, anything you can possibly hope for. Those 3 ingredients just pretty much form the base of it.
That's cool too. I mean, I think one of the things about that is that a lot of people are really busy and they don't think, wow, I can just throw some tomatoes, onions, some garlic, and some beans in a pot and have something to eat. A lot of people don't think about that,
Right.
but they could, and it could be that simple, and they could eat healthfully, even if they're in a hurry.
And in those cases, I would say, you know what, go ahead and use the tin beans because, you know what, you're in a hurry, I understand. Just not black-eyed peas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So I want to encourage people to go to your blog. Can you give us that URL again?
altveg.blogspot.com, altveg.blogspot.com. You're welcome to leave comments there, ask me questions about, what you'd like me to cover on the future shows, all that other stuff, and I'm more than happy to answer them.
And it's a great place to hook up to kind of connect with Dino and find out what's going on and get some ideas. It's a great blog.
I'm a really chatty type of person, and that's kind of how I am in my blog. I'm very sort of, okay, this is what happened in my life, and this is what I'm cooking, and here's pictures, and, that kind of thing.
You're a chatty Cathy.
I am. I'm a yenta.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, anything else you want to say to anyone out there, Dino?
Yes, please join our project for veganfaqs.blogspot.com. Vegan FAQ, not plural, .blogspot.com. Join our project. We want more vegans to be posting on there because if I can get this to be a centralized resource for other people, I think it would be a wonderful thing because I want our voices to be heard rather than what the corporate America thinks that should be heard.
Good idea, and that's awesome. So be in touch with Dino, and thank you again for being on the show, Dino. It's awesome to have you on, and we will get you on
Thank
again.
you so much for
regularly.
having me back. Take care, guys.
So now our cast iron skillets are treated and our ovens are all preheated. Throw away that fake meat, it'd bring out the vicious wrath of Dino. Vegan freaks love Dino, 'cause he sure can cucino. Grazie, Dino. Molto squisito.
Okay.
Black-eyed peas, that's what it was.
Black-eyed peas.
Yeah,
There you
so
go.
okay. That's what we talked about. So thank you, Dino, once again,
Yeah.
for your culinary activism and your web activism as well.
Absolutely. So we want to encourage you all to get get involved. If you do something that you think is cool, let us know. We like to know. I mean, we like to get people thinking about this stuff and to spread the good word about it.
Exactly.
And help out however we can as well. If there's something we can do, let us know.
Sure.
Because we can help with this stuff.
Sure.
Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of.
Depends on what it is.
Yeah.
But sometimes we can.
Right.
So let us know. With that said, we shall be back again in a week or two. Probably, I like to do them weekly, but we just life has been very hectic.
It has been. So
Next
I
week
hope-
may be difficult for us.
Yeah, because we're going out of town.
So maybe the week after that we'll
Yeah.
we'll definitely be back either next week or the week after.
Okay.
So be patient with us, but we will keep doing this until we think it's ineffective, or
Yes.
until we go insane.
One or the other.
Yeah, it could be one of the other. Anyway, thank you so much for listening and for writing, and we will get to voicemails and emails next week. It's just
Yes. We've been too busy to just put them together, so.
really, and we want to get to them, and we appreciate your feedback. We are getting there. We promise.
Yes.
So
next-
thank you for your patience with us.
Yes.
And thanks for listening yet again to Vegan Freak Radio. This segment of Vegan Freak Radio is produced by us. Our engineer is us. Producer, I already said that. Editors are us. Extra stinky air provided by our dog Mole. See you next week.
Bye.